Yogi and Vinny. Hey guys, good to see you both. Some of my favorite guys right here on this call. Get everybody joining. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hey Vinny, you gave up on calling already? Pass it on to Jenny. We had a little phone bank party for Vinny today, so I've been watching the stats on Call Fire, so it's going good. Just gonna wait for everyone to linger in. We got a few minutes. Nobody's on time to Zoom meetings anymore. I feel like you are forced to give everybody like 5 customary minutes to like get the link, remember the password.
Right. Hi, Brad. How are you?
It's the same amount I had.
Vinny, cover the doorway with your head.
Hi, Renee.
I got to catch up with Rennie today. It was nice when I was delivering Vinny's postcards to all the volunteers. You know, I have to admit, as far as districts go for, Board of Supervisors, District 1 is really beautiful. I mean, I could drive, I grew up driving through Niles Canyon. My dad loved going through the canyon. He was a motorcycle rider. So we would go through the canyon on the motorcycle, fresh wind. It's so, nostalgic for me. And I have my new car and I'm going through the canyon and I'm driving through, Isabel all the way down 87 to get into Livermore. And you just see these hills covered in vineyards, and it was just so really kind of majestic, I would even say. I felt very at home. I was just having a little moment today I thought I would share with you guys. I hope we all get to drive through our homes and admire, what we familiarize with when we see it. It's good to see everybody coming in. Hi, I see Vanessa is here and the incredible, impossible, unstoppable Diane Jones. Frank is with us. Hi, Frank. I feel like I didn't see him in the last meeting. Raj is with us. Nice to see you, Raj.
What was that kid's show where he's like, I see so-and-so, I see. Anyway, I'm probably too old for all of you, but...
I like to announce it for attendance purposes.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of helps fill the time. I like to personally acknowledge people. Council member Sarah Lamnon is with us. Also, Alameda County Judge candidate Mark Fickes is with us. We had a fantastic meeting with him and his competitor last meeting. What the last meeting? Was it May? Time is very warped in a COVID world, but I will say we had a fantastic meeting with them, and I do believe it is on our YouTube page. Fun Progressives California has a YouTube page, and one of the amazing things about Zoom is that I do get to record these, and they get uploaded, and you get to download them and edit them. I don't really edit things because I think that's kind of against what we're about at Fun Progressives and our transparency virtues. But we do, it is nice to be able to upload them to YouTube and always have them there so people can see what's up and what we've been doing. I'm still letting participants in, and we're still waiting for some of our guest speakers to arrive. So everyone keep hanging tight. Also, Let me make sure my other officers are all getting on the call.
Yogi, how do you pronounce your last name, by the way?
Vanessa, it's pronounced Chugh.
I was saying earlier, it's like customary now that you give everybody 5 minutes to get into a Zoom meeting, because we've all been doing this so much now, and we always think, I'm just going to jump into my email and click on the link, but it never goes that well, ever. I have this one volunteer who's always trying to get into our Zoom calls, and it takes her like 4 or 5 tries, and I feel so bad. I'm taking attendance. I appreciate you guys in the chat. Does anyone have anything fun and exciting that they would like to share with the group while we wait our last customary minute? I am open to hearing how you guys are doing, what kinds of projects you're working on. I feel like Vanessa just came on video, so she wants to say something. No? Okay. Well, here we go. Let me admit some more people. Brad, I see you making hand movements. I'm going to unmute you. All right. Any day now. Why does it?
Unmute.
There you go. Oh, Jesus. Now I've done it.
How do we notify you?
I'm sorry. You were on mute for most of that. Can you just repeat it?
I'm sorry. If
It's
we have
okay.
a question, how do we notify you?
You can send it to me privately in the chat or everyone in the chat. I don't care. If you send it to me privately, I'm going to assume you don't want everyone to know it's your question, and I'm just going to ask it.
Oh, I see.
If you
So
don't
right
mind
now,
if everyone sees it, you can just share it in the chat with everyone. And I promise you, many people on this call will start harassing me, telling me to get that question answered. So,
okay, so at the moment, you're going to mute me, correct? So that there's no feedback or no disturbances.
Correct. I mute everyone during the opening portion of our meetings. This is our anniversary meeting, so I will have a small election. And then we'll go into the forum. And yes, if anyone has questions, basically, first we start. Let me just start the meeting. It's past 6:35. Everyone's had their customary time to come in. So this is how the format is going to work for asking questions and for the forum. After we finish our club business, every candidate will be given a 2-minute opening. And then we normally have our normal club questions that we ask. After the club questions, I normally leave a lot of time for Q&A, open Q&A. So during the Q&A time, you are more than invited to join us on screen and audio to ask a question. You can also send it privately to me through the chat or send it to everybody through the chat. It's all based on your own discretion. But essentially, normally we do have our normal club questions that we use to get everything going and get people's juices flowing. And then once we have Q&A, it's pretty much open floor. So let's get started. It is 6:37. This is our 4-year anniversary meeting. Congratulations, you guys. I cannot believe it feels sometimes like just yesterday that we were all in that Bronco Billy's room, and majority of the people there were forcing me to run a meeting. And now all I do all day is run meetings. So thank you, Fun Progressives, for putting that curse on my life. I will never, ever forget you for it. I was like, forget, forgive, who knows? I also would like to say that our membership has held very strong over the years. It's wavered here and there, but we always have our normal crew of about 20 to 25 people. I think we're doing something right. I've said this before, but I do get so much praise for our club. I think a lot of the nonpartisan politicians like having a place to go to be considered and acknowledged. And I think a lot of the all candidates have told me they like our style, and we're casual and we're really passionate about being here. And so I think all of you, everything that's happened feels kind of like a dream sometimes. I do think we've been a force of good in the world, and it's very humbling to be a part of this with all of you. It's been a really, really great time. It's definitely changed my life, and I've seen it change the lives of people around me who get involved. And I hope that, we've kind of had a positive effect on the lives of every person who's ever come to a meeting or ever volunteered with us, or ever kind of become aware of something new in our civic duties because of what somebody from Fun Progressives has had to say. With that being said, I will say that you guys really like your leadership. I got one nomination, and it was for Rennie as treasurer. So instead of having a whole to-do about it, would anybody have an objection to continuing on with the same officers through acclamation?
Oh, I wanted to say that.
I'm sorry, Vanessa. I've actually had time to think about this, and I've been working so hard. I haven't been drinking lately, so I just think even more now. Little joke for you guys. So does anyone have an issue with that? If anybody would like to have a contested race for any of the officer positions, I'm more than happy to, but if there are no objections, then we will vote on our leadership continuing by acclamation. So I'm going to give it, okay, everyone's just basically saying yes, we're good with acclamation. Second acclamation. Okay, can I get a raise of hands either by participants, by putting yes in the chat, letting me know? Okay, yes, everyone says yes. Okay. Wonderful news. Wonderful. Well, then you will have the same officers for the next 2021 year. And we are going to continue doing our very best. It's hard right now with COVID, but we're going to keep doing our very best to run the club. I've definitely been getting into more of a routine. You guys have probably noticed a lot more newsletters from us, a lot more of me begging for everyone to pay their dues. Rennie and I have actually worked out some really good systems on attendance taking and tracking dues, and we're hyper organized now. So anyways, I appreciate all you guys, and I'm really looking forward to this 2020 election. We have so many big races. Obviously, everyone pretty much has been helping us with Vinny's race since last year for Alameda County Supervisor. That's going to be huge if we take that. And of course, there are a few anxieties behind that, but I know Fremont, and I know Fremont comes through. So I'm excited to be here with y'all on that. And tonight, we're going to have another big race, which is District 6 in Fremont. That's Irvington, the Irvington area, and some of the upper hills around Paseo and Auto Mall, Osgood, that hilly area, big houses. They see everything. That's where you are. And this is going to be big. We are always so lucky in Fremont. We have an amazing residents who always step up and want to run for things and want to be a part of their city council and their commissions. And in District 6, I think that we're going to see really passionate Fremontians, Fremontonians, Fremontiers. I've never figured that one out. We should have an official poll in Fremont. Maybe that's going to be one of the pop questions about what we call ourselves. I can't say I'm from Freakmont anymore because it makes the elders upset. Okay, so District 6 is going to be huge, and we're going to have, I'm sure, a lot more big local elections as August 7th, which is the filing deadline, comes to a close, and everyone will be filed, and it will be out in the open, the year candidate. So I'm really excited for this year. I think we're going to make a lot of big changes. I think COVID has changed the game completely. People really understand what progressive values have been about this entire time now. You know, when you see, I think in California, there were like 4 million new unemployment claims this last cycle. Most of those people also probably lost their health insurance. You know, they probably are gonna be facing eviction or foreclosure. So all these values that we've been talking about, you know, just wanting universal health care, just wanting housing as a human right, it's really coming into fruition now for everybody else. I think how important our values are. So this could be a big year for us, and we all have to stay very, very dedicated to our principles and our values. Since our election went by super quickly, I'm going to go ahead and start the candidate forum early. We do have Yogi and Teresa with us. And I will say I did reach out to Charles Liu, who I believe is running. He did not accept our invitation. Probably knew he wasn't going to get the endorsement. We do have a 12-point pledge that we tell I don't like questionnaires. As a campaign manager, questionnaires are kind of the bane of my existence. So when we put our 12-point pledge together as a club, we decided these are our values. Like, this is, if we were to write what our perfect elected official looks like, here you go. We are giving you a cheat sheet. Like, if you don't want to piss us off, this is it, fam. So our candidates who get endorsed sign the pledge that they're going to live up to that as to the best of their ability. And we, of course, can retract our endorsement if we feel that the pledge has been broken. That's never happened so far. But I will say, I think when we endorsed Lily May, we did not have the pledge yet. So she kind of got grandfathered in. But I will say that Roman Reed, the fourth candidate, to get back to my original point, he is at a reunion of some type and was not able to make it. I did offer him, all the candidates, to send in a statement or a video for me to play, and I didn't receive anything for the meeting. There's another person running, but they don't have any type of contact information that I could get my hands on. So let me do y'all, if so, which ones? Okay. Gotcha, Vanessa. So with that being said, I'm gonna introduce our candidates. They will get 2 minutes to speak after I introduce them. And then I will ask our club's pretty basic normal questions. And then we'll have an open Q&A. I always like to remind everybody to, you know, keep it cute. I've noticed on Zoom calls, people really, they're a lot less afraid to get a little mouthier. And I just want to keep everything cool. We've never had too many issues, and some of our troublemakers are not on this call, so you guys got lucky. But it's politics. I saw Bill Quirk cry on a meeting last month, and it kind of changed how I feel about Zoom calls. So with nothing else to be said, I will introduce ladies first. And so Teresa Cox, come on, unmute yourself and introduce yourself to everybody. You get 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Cox, running for Fremont City Council District 6. Currently, I serve as the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees at Ohlone College, where we are now top 5 among the highest transfer rates among all California community colleges. Recently, we opened the 3 academic core buildings. Thank you to all the taxpayers of $350 million, a 10-year project. Serve on the Ohlone Foundation to provide over $100,000 of scholarships each year to the well-deserved students, even during COVID-19. I'm experienced at managing budgets of $60 million, 10,000 students, 450 part-time and full-time faculty, and 200 support and management personnel, compared to my job that I manage over $5 billion. Trustees, we first are so happy to announce that we hired the first Black president at Ohlone College in the 50-year history. And as a former chair of the Fremont Economic Development Commission, I have promoted small business job opportunities and led trade missions to China. I've been appointed by President Obama and continue to be appointed to serve as a council member of the California District Export Council. I will bring my diverse decades-long experience to solving problems our city and our community that we face right now, such as police reform, crime, and advancement of women and minorities, affordable housing, and focusing on getting businesses open, creating jobs, and small business initiatives. I'm a proud mother of 2 Black teenagers. I'm a Democrat and ready to lead. By working together, we can make Fremont a better place for you and me. I ask for your support today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And so next we have our second participant. Yogi, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Wonderful, Kelsey. Thank you. It's a privilege to speak to all of you, and I want to congratulate Teresa for running in this election as well. It's never easy. So my name is Yogi Chugh, and I'm running for Fremont City Council. I've lived in Fremont for 35 years, and many people have asked me, Yogi, of all times, why are you choosing to run now? And I believe that the travesty of our circumstances has created opportunities in which public service can play a big role. I believe I can make a difference. I'm a father of 2 children who went to our Fremont Unified School District. My wife is a doctor in the medical community. We live in a multi-generational family where my 87-year-old father lives with us. So we have the advantage of being able to see multiple perspectives as we've gone through this very difficult time. I've been on the Fremont Planning Commission where I've learned the realities of what planning can be all about. I've been on the boards of many nonprofits, and every single one of those nonprofits have found that we all share a love of Fremont, which is remarkable. But we may have disagreements at times, and that coalition forming is what I've thrived at. I've also been a member of the Economic Development Commission, which has enabled me to see firsthand the challenges that our businesses, our technology sector, our small businesses have been able to face. I also believe that as a community, we've had a number of issues on which we've been divided. More importantly, the conversation about development and non-development. And I believe that the conversation is going to lead us to solutions that are going to help solve the problems that COVID has exposed, the vulnerabilities in our system. The question of social justice, the question about equality and dealing with those that are most fortunate, I believe is a moral responsibility. And a city council through its budget, which is a statement of values, allows us to make the decisions that we have to make. I believe that our challenges are unique. And in the conversation about development, non-development, I want to flip the conversation. A conversation where we continue to talk to each other rather than just speak to each other. I'm running on a bold platform of championing affordable housing and improving our infrastructure, building strong partnerships with our schools and with our city, because each one of them has to address the vulnerabilities. In totality, one cannot do it without the other. I want to reimagine the public safety, the new era that's going to come out in Fremont. I want to expand our public safety net. I want to expand human services to speak to our most vulnerable, issues that we cannot slide away. The realities are that we have an obligation and public safety can make a difference. I'm honored to have the endorsement of Congressman Ro Khanna, State Treasurer Betty Yee, Senator Bob Wykowski, State Assemblymember Bill Quirk, Assemblymember Ash Kalra, Councilmember Rod Salvan, former Mayor Gus Morrison, former Councilmember Judy Zlotnick, Anu Natarajan, and many others in a coalition of business leaders and community leaders who collectively will help forge those solutions. I've also taken a pledge not to take developer money or special interest corporate money, because I think the time is now to build unanimous votes on this council. And why do we need unanimous votes? We need unanimous votes because our mayor needs a strong seat at the regional table. Municipalities were never designed to deal with the issues we face today. We need the help of state, county, and federal, and the public-private partnerships. And I think the unanimous votes on our participatory budget conversations will lead us to that. I am so proud of this community. And at the same moment, I'm proud to be a part of the Fremont Union City Newer Progressives. I've had many conversations with many of you. I've learned from many of you. And I want to continue to engage in this conversation because you are very important participants in Fremont's solution.
Yogi, you've gone way over time, and I'm going to take it out of you later, just so you know.
Please do.
Okay.
I'm sorry, though.
Okay, I'm going to stop you, though, right there so that we can, yes, we started a little early, so I'm not super concerned about it, but Teresa was very considerate in staying within her 2 minutes. So I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to make it up to Teresa. In some of her answers, I'll allow you like an additional 30 seconds on 4 of your answers, if that sounds good to you, Teresa.
Or a rebuttal, or also a rebuttal too.
If you would like, if at any time you would like a 1-minute rebuttal, I will allow you that as an awardance of your extra time. Not a problem. I'm so okay with that. Okay, so the very first question that we normally start with, as everybody has heard me say, a lot of times I get asked what is the difference between a progressive and a Democrat, and I like to say for myself, and I know a lot of my other progressives, it's the money, honey. So tell us a little bit, I know Yogi mentioned he's not taking developer special interest money, the types of money you will not be accepting on your campaign. This should be a pretty quick answer, 30 seconds, but Teresa, you do have an exemption if you'd like more time. Teresa, you can go first on this one.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to be accepting any development money. The reason why is I want to be transparent and not be influenced by the decisions. And I want to make sure that I have looking at what is the community benefit and why we're doing this type of project so we can evaluate fairly and equally.
Thank you so much. Yogi, go ahead, you can answer.
I'm not taking developer money or corporate money.
Okay, great. Okay, so the next question, housing is a huge issue, and Irvington specifically, and a lot of District 6 is where a lot of affordable housing already exists. And I think over the years, I've seen new projects be proposed in that district, and sometimes the residents get upset that they feel their home values are being depreciated by kind of bearing the brunt of the affordable housing that gets put in Fremont. So to make it kind of a broad, easy, adaptable answer, talk to me about your affordable housing ideas and also how you deal with, you know, quote unquote, NIMBY constituents who don't want the lesser peasants to live in their neighborhood. Go ahead, Yogi, you can go first on this question, and I will give you 90 seconds.
Great. Kelsey, thank you for that question. I think it's a very important question. Irvington District 6 is probably one of the most densest. And from the question of affordability, probably has the higher stock of affordable homes in Fremont. The conversation about affordability has been an issue that has been going on in Fremont for a very long time. And I think with COVID and the conversations about affordability, it takes on an even bigger question. returning millennials and students coming back from college, our teachers, our public safety officials, our city employees can no longer continue to afford to live in Fremont. For too long, there's been this premise that if the zoning fits, you have to approve. I believe that there are two opportunities in which we can come back and make a difference on affordable homes. One, the state is now requiring us to do that, and we have to meet that. And with the very idea of transit-oriented districts, this conversation is going to come to head. So how do you come back and force the developers to come back and have a conversation? In a development in which it's a simple zoning and the permitted use is allowed, there are opportunities in which you can find affirmative findings in which you can challenge a developer under design criteria and under community character to come back and hone in a project. And then there's a new opportunity that I believe is affordability by design. And using that leverage, you can. When it comes to a general plan amendment in which a density change occurs, we have much more within our arsenal to come back. So really being able to push the conversation and asking the developers to have the conversation with our community and to push back, building the affordable units by design, I think is clearly one of those arsenal that the city council can use.
Reach 90 seconds. Teresa, go ahead.
Affordability is a challenge here in our community. When the average home here in this Bay Area in the city of Fremont is over $1 million, this is not affordable. I think one of the things that needs to happen is as we look out and look at any type of development projects that we must ask up front for affordable housing, especially one that's close to the public, transit and transportation, and one that we can something that can help improve the quality of life for others and asking for a certain allotment as we do the design and the criteria and before we sign the contract. That's our responsibility to be transparent, to ask, because if you don't ask up front, it will never be part of the picture for our community, for those that need to have the affordable housing. I've had the experience of doing and working with the Ohlone College. At one point, we were looking at a housing project, and there was a concern about the undesirables coming up to live in the Mission District. We had to sit down with a particular group and say, this is something that's better for all. We ended up, it was more of a traffic issue and transportation that the project was declined. But having the experience to deal with opposition and knowing how to reach a solution to be able to further the cause. But one other thing is that we got to look at the discrimination of housing that occurs with those that apply for housing in this area. It's still happening that people are not getting the offers that they place on the job, nor they're qualifying because of the increase in the wage gap for the minorities at this time. And it's even increased more to allow less people to afford any type of housing at this point. But I'm here to work, to take my experiences, to be able to find the solutions, to be able to work with everyone to get this resolved, but also that everyone does not need to be discriminated on their skin color.
Okay, that, I gave you 45 extra seconds there. All right. So to do a quick lightning round on housing, because we do have funding for affordable housing, do you support public housing? Yes, no? Teresa, you can go first.
Yes, I do support public housing.
Yogi?
I do.
Okay. Teresa touched on this a little bit, and Yogi, you brought it up in your opening, but infrastructure, and that normally means roadways, public transit, things like that. Talk a little bit about the infrastructure needs in Fremont and your district that you're looking to make a difference in, and also maybe a little bit about some of the stuff being done that you would like to continue to support. Teresa, you can go first on this one.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the things that's come up, I had the opportunity to attend the Fremont Mobility Plan to address the transportation challenges and to also meet our future mobility demands of now and the future. And one of the big things is how to relieve the transportation congestion. And one of the ways that was just approved at our last week's Fremont City Council was the Irvington BART station. That is beginning to roll out in terms of getting approved for the design and concept and implementation there. And so those are one of the things that can reduce the driving time. As everyone knows that it takes a long time to get from driving from one point to the other point here in Fremont. And having housing that is a part of the transit will help us. I know we already have the housing that's happening by the BART station to help relieve of the traffic congestion there. But we still need more help. We're still modernizing all of our traffic signals even that are overdue. So I think it's going to take more community engagement to help in solving the transportation problem. But it will take a little bit of everyone to see how we can make these happen.
Thank you. Yogi, you can go ahead.
And how many seconds do we, how many minutes, seconds do we have
You
on
have
this?
90 seconds.
Wonderful. Kelsey, I think the question about infrastructure is a very important conversation. The mobility plan is a step in the right direction. I believe that infrastructure is one of those conversations that Fremont cannot do it alone. On our projects, we have the ability to come back and do the very idea of incorporating design structures and egress and ingress into these projects to manage that. But a lot of the infrastructure issues are regional issues. And from our district standpoint, if you look at it, most of the choke points are outside of the other districts. The transit-oriented district is going to create an opportunity. So the conversation often about infrastructure is the job work rebalance that needs to happen to take the cars off of our streets. That's a platitude, but it's an aspirational goal. I've always felt that infrastructure is a conversation that needs to be had with the county, the state, and the federal government. And that's why I've always believed that if we had a united council on a shared priority, it gives our mayor a regional seat at the table. The critical funding that's needed. Fremont cannot do infrastructure on its own. That's the conversation. We have to push the envelope on our development. We have to push on our mobility. We have to continue to focus on our projects and demand the landlords to be able to, the developers to do what they need to do. But we need to make a claim for the regional dollars. Without that, it's a platitude.
Okay, thank you. So the next topic, we brought up, haven't brought up this yet. Obviously, COVID has been very, very detrimental, and especially to our small businesses. We'll probably close out this meeting with a moment of silence for Cloverleaf Bowl, which was already threatened by developers, but now is going to, yes, everybody, I mean, we all, if you're from Fremont or Newark, you probably grew up in Cloverleaf Bowl, the same as I know I did. What type of plan do you think the city needs to put together to save the businesses that we love and help our economy open really strong when we get through this pandemic? Yogi, I will defer to you to go first.
I'm a small business owner, and as I've had conversations with small businesses across Fremont in the last 3 months as I delayed my announcement for my city council run, one of the things I was hearing from everybody else is survival is what we need right now. We cannot hold on to our employees. The federal support that was coming in came in for some did not even know how to access that. Our small businesses have been able to become successful because of the generosity of our board of supervisors, the community, and others that have been able to help keep them alive. One of the conversations is that I've heard from businesses is, if you can give us 6 months, we might come out okay. We might be able to retain the local jobs. And as you know, small businesses form 60% of the local jobs. I believe the community development grants that we receive from the federal government are what we need to provide. We need to get rid of the bureaucratic permit processes and the fees that are required, put a moratorium on those. If we can help them survive, we will retain our local jobs. And one of the things that I can absolutely hope that the small businesses, whether we can get them their rent relief, and certainly there are conversations that are happening both at the county and the judicial system and the judicial council asking the state to come back with some relief, because commercial default will be catastrophic. It'll destroy our communities.
Thank you so much, Yogi. Teresa, go ahead.
Kelsey, could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. You know, with COVID and everything, what do you think Fremont's city plan should be to help our small businesses survive and come out strong on the other end of the pandemic?
Okay. Well, right now, I think the most important thing is safety in our community. We must make sure that we comply with the Alameda County health directives, working with the state, local, and national levels. And it's going to take more than just bringing and wearing a mask and social distancing, but making sure that it's carried throughout from our schools, from our businesses. One of the big things is that we're lacking is not having a business locally that can produce the PPE to protect us, to protect our first responders and our frontline workers. And I think one of the big things is we got to get the businesses up and running. And that means the city of Fremont, with all the money of $338 million, we should be able to award local businesses to jumpstart our economy right here in Fremont to bring our businesses back up and running at a quicker pace than relying. We're going to rely on other monies as they come in to help support the release for the rent, for the materials that people have to buy, the shortages that are occurring because people can't manufacture their parts. But I think the biggest part is that we have to rely on the small businesses, the cornerstone of our community and of our economy. And if the city of Fremont does not stand up to give the local monies that's out of our budget set aside to partner with all of the different services, this is where we know that the city can help promote and bring the Fremont up to the level that it was a couple months ago and going on. But we're all going to have planning for a budget for the COVID-19 going forward, whether it's the PPE or the sanitation expenses, all those things that we did not have before. We're going to have to be creative and also creating more jobs that people can then work with the different entities to be employed, to find new jobs in their careers in case that their careers are not able to sustain itself. We've got to be the job creator, and the city's also got to be the job to award the businesses to create our businesses. So I think we can work hard with all the local residents and the small businesses. I've done this at a national, local level. I award companies all the time, small businesses to do the work. And this is where we've got to get in the grassroots right now.
Thank you so much. Okay. I have no questions left submitted for the club. So we can open this up to anybody that has any questions, concerns, thoughts. You guys know what to do. I'll tell you what, while I'm waiting for everyone to type out their questions, I'll give you 90 seconds on a free topic. If there's any topic that you never really get asked about that you're always dying to talk about. I know candidates tend to have a lot of those sometimes. I'll give you 90 seconds. We just call it like, freestyle. Teresa, go ahead. You can take 90 seconds for your freestyle topic.
Okay, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is what we want to make sure that our lives are as equal and treated equally. It does not mean that one life is over the other life. And that's the misconception that happens with Black Lives Matter. And it's more that they want to say one group cares for another group. That's not true. We just want to be treated. If I walk in a store, I want to be treated that I have equal value to buy my son or daughter a bike and to be able to walk out of the store without being arrested or being shot. I do not support any violent action or anything associated with Black Lives Matter. And also keep in mind that Fremont has never had a Black serve on City Council ever. It's time for a change. As Dr. Martin Luther King always had said, one day we can live in a nation where we will not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character.
Thank you, Teresa. Yogi, go ahead. You have a 90-second freestyle.
Right. I too want to reaffirm my support for the Black Lives Matter as well. I think it's an affirmative statement, and it's absolutely one that's important. Systematic gaps in our society have been exposed. For the first time, we've seen what prejudice and power coupled together can do. The conversation remains, what are we going to do about it? I think it's a conversation that has to be had. And as a part of that conversation, I think we need to show leadership. John Lewis said, let's make trouble, let's make good trouble. What does that mean? That means pushing to have the conversation that we need to have. On the second part, understanding what are we going to do about it? That's what we have to do. We have to identify the systematic racism. Our human services department has to continue to evolve and see, how do we help our most vulnerable? How do we find the funding? From that regard, what I would come back and say is municipalities will start the conversation, but the public-private partnership and the public opinion has to change. We're having conversations about policing and race. That's an important conversation in our community. My fear is we often have the conversation with the same 200 people in Fremont. We got to go to our communities to have that conversation to address this. And then the platitude on the same regard, solving the issues of affordable housing, creation of jobs, opportunity, a social justice system that's just and fair is what our responsibility is. That's why I made the platitude for, let's end homelessness. In 10 years, as the 4th largest city, we can do it.
So Yogi, since you brought that up, that was one of the questions in our chat. Both Raj and Diane want to know what your ideals are for handling homelessness. And Diane said in addition to that, the unsheltered that are affecting businesses, encampments, things like that, which happens to be a big concern for Irvington to the best of her knowledge. So since we're on the topic of homelessness, who did I let go first last time? Teresa, I will let you go first this time.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks for the question. I think that homelessness, it is going to continue to grow, it's sad to say. I think the best way that it can be dealt with, and I've had to write special grants and special partnership contracts for my professional work. And that is that it's going to take monies from both partnering with the city of Fremont plus the private industry to be able to manage this, because there's no way that our budget, as it shrinks to deal with other things, that the corporations that are making billions of dollars, that they're going to be sharing some of this money to be able to help offset and help us deal with the homelessness. I know that with the Navigation Center, it was a project that was brought out by having the partnership to be able to roll out and administer a special program. I think it's going to take more of that. I think also there's services and partnering. It's more than having the transient being at the business. It's going to be something that it may have to become some sort of social work if it's nonviolent. That someone could help in terms of the resources from the Family Resource Center to be able to help and partner when things are dispelled at someone walking through. Everyone has a right to walk down the street and to be able to freely walk on public streets. When it starts to interfere with business, that's where we've got to have compassion and work with the right resources to help that individual. We don't know what's entirely going on, but we're a compassionate city. We want to be able to address the concerns, and it's going to take more than just the city of Fremont. It's going to take monies coming from the local, state, and corporations to help us.
Given you 2 minutes, I'm going to stop you and let Yogi answer. Go ahead.
Homelessness is one of the biggest issues we're confronted with. Municipalities were never designed to deal with homelessness. Simple reality. Our social services agency is one of the rare exceptions to the rule where the county does not take care of a city's problem. We chose to do it ourselves. I agree in having a conversation with some of the housing advocates and those that are fighting homelessness at Abode. This is no longer an issue we can deal with. The state took responsibility for this during COVID. The public-private partnerships are going to roll. Abode just received a $4 million grant. We need more of that. At the same time, I think we need to address the question of homelessness and what it means to this perpetual system that we create. It creates a housing crisis, and a lot of times the rent increases or the unaffordability brings people on the streets. And when they do, it's difficult to get them out. I think our human services needs to intervene early, prevent homelessness when it first starts. And my heart tears out when I read that students are sleeping in their cars. There are a lot of steps we're doing, the showers, the mobility clinics that we're providing. And we have to address this not only because it's a moral prerogative, but I think in COVID we found that if we don't take care of our most vulnerable, the disease spreads. Teresa talked about businesses being safe. I couldn't agree with her more. But the homelessness is an issue that we have to solve, and I think that if we make a pledge as the fourth largest city to end homelessness in 10 years, and we have the resolve to do it, I think we can. It comes down to the regional seat at the table. That's why a united council is so important, to allow our mayor and representatives of different councils to talk about this issue at a regional level. I believe homelessness can end. We just have to have the resolve to do it. If we don't do it, when will we?
Thank you, Yogi. You're right. I don't disagree that the time is now, always. Why put off till tomorrow what we could do today? Okay, so with that being said, I think we had a question from Alex Lee. So it's a couple yes or no's, but I do want to get into the second one a little bit. So the first one is defund the police, support or oppose. And I'm going to give you guys a minute on this because I'd also like to know what your definition of defund the police is. And so Teresa, I will let you go first.
Okay, thank you. I do not support getting rid of the police department. I believe that there should be a restructuring of the police force and the policing type policies and procedures. The fact of the matter is that the police do have a role to play in our community. What we've got to do is to make sure that the police role is one that meets our times, one that responds to the communities that they operate in. I believe we should create a police commission, an independent governing group made up of the diverse citizens of Fremont, so that we can evaluate how is the police department performing. And this could be a penalty, if they're not, is by reducing the funding to the police department and routing it to the youth programs. Part of it also is the compliance of new policies, diversity hiring and training, academic requirements increase, mandatory training, criminal arrest statistics. So there's a lot of things we can look at, how to improve the relations. Thank you.
Thanks. Yogi, go ahead.
I don't support the word defund. I think many people in Fremont don't support defund, but I think what they do support is a new chapter in public safety. I think rethinking, reimagining. Teresa and I just recently joined a forum where the city had a conversation on policing and race. And I think I agree with Teresa on a number of issues. I think people are looking for public safety as a critical component of why they choose to live in Fremont. I think the Fremont Police Department has done a tremendous amount of reflection and changes. And as they continue to talk with us, I think we're looking at de-escalation. We're looking at the context of militarization of police in Fremont. And we may realize that it may not be a big of an issue. Our budgeting reflects our values, and I think that's a conversation we're having in Fremont. I look forward to being a part of this conversation now and on the council when we'll talk about the type of policing we want in Fremont and the type of policing I think Fremont wants. Transparency is also important, and I agree with Teresa on that point.
Thank you guys very much. So the second one, I'll give you guys 90 seconds on this. Education is a huge issue. We're going to be facing a budget shortfall because of COVID that's going to devastate our schools. One of the things we have on the ballot is Prop 13 reform. Share your thoughts about that and your thoughts on how the cities can work with our schools in Fremont to help get them the resources that they need. Yogi, I will let you go first.
Well, I think funding out of the HEROES Act, the next stimulus bill, is definitely going to be help. And that's one of the key conversations. The conversation about the solution, the problems we're facing right now are not something we can deal with the municipality. I do believe the city and the school can share resources as a part of that conversation. Can we share resources potentially? I think the very idea of the partnerships that we have to have with the Fremont Unified School District is a collaboration about the systematic issues that confront us and how do we deal with this, human services intervention. There's a conversation about SROs in our public school systems. My point to that is that by the time the students come to the high school, we already had an issue. We've already failed the system. I think systematically through human services at our city and our schools, we can address those very questions. From a funding standpoint, I don't know. I think the Fremont Unified School District will have to go to some bond measure in the future. In the absence of that, hopefully the HEROES funding will come in and it'll be helpful from the state to the county to our school district.
Thank you so much. Teresa, go ahead. Oh, wait, hold on one
Cal-
second. I apologize. Yogi, you had about 20 seconds. You didn't say anything about Prop 13 reform that I heard. Did
Prop
you
13,
give a
if
yes or no?
I'm not mistaken, that's the increase in commercial properties for
Schools
the,
and communities first. It revokes
Right.
Prop 13 for commercial properties, so Disneyland and Chevron have to pay taxes on their property now.
I have not read through that, but
Okay.
I would sense to say that any equitable increase to deal with our issues that we're facing would be shared responsibilities that we would have to look at.
Okay, great. Teresa, you can go now, and you have 90 seconds, and if you want a little more, you know the deal.
Okay. As serving at Ohlone College, we were one of the first colleges that we went on and passed a resolution for the schools and communities first. Part of it is that we want to make sure that all the corporations are going to pay their fair share, that everyone is entitled to make sure that our community, our children, our families are being taken care of. And hopefully this will be one of the things that can help us in the shortfall in the event, as we know, with COVID-19 and other expenses that are unexpected right now. We don't know what we're in for in the next 6 months, but that would help us to make sure that there's equal justice and equality for the families that are in our community, because we're going to be the first to see it is through the schools, no doubt. And we need the help through making sure that the corporations are accountable and they can't hide behind investing money and other places to reduce their taxes when they've made billions of dollars. And we have people still living in poverty in our community, and we still need the help. Look at all the children that need all the school lunches. How much is that every day that we need to still provide that? Because otherwise, if we didn't, the children would not even have any food at their homes right now. So it's part of equalizing. This is the equalizing part, but more to continue and working with the dialogue with the Fremont Unified School System, working with Ohlone College. And together we can put our heads together at the table to solve where are the shortfalls and how we can help build our community together.
Thank you so much. So we did have another question in the chat. Vinny asked, how will you manage the budget given that there will be a significant shortfall? And Teresa, I will let you answer this one first.
Okay. I've had the experience of, at times, we've had some challenging budgets. I think one of the big things is asking everyone, number one, how are you going to cut expenses? And that's how we're going to reduce contracts on material, things to cut out that the services of the city may have to do without, and making that priority change before you touch any resources. I think it's part of that budget and cost savings. How can we leverage our monies together to buy products and services and get the costs down? Number two, we're also going to have to maybe not take a COLA. We've done that before because we've had to make sure that it's better to take no COLA than lay anybody off. Our resources are very valuable. I can't imagine us after all of this with our firefighters fighting the COVID-19 and our police force out there day and night, that you would cut any of them because their services are much too valuable. So together we do that. The third step is if we have to all take a 5% cut, which we've had to do that in the past, and looking at Ohlone College would be no different than seeing how we could do that in managing the budget. But also it's going to take a group of people working together to provide the input to make those type of budget cuts and set into priorities. I can't do it all by myself. I would look to all the constituents that I work with to get their input to then provide a roll-up. But I just gave you a couple examples of my experiences, frontline being a trustee at Ohlone College, but also I've had to do it when I've worked at corporate America to not eliminate people from the payroll, but how we could come together and get through this together without minimizing any job loss.
Thank you very much. Yogi, you can go ahead and answer.
Teresa gave a good answer. You know, we're a general law city. We have to balance our budget. We have to make the balance of revenues and expenses, the shortfall. This council made a decision and said when it happens, we'll make the right decisions at that time. My corporate experience background is similar. I worked for PlayStation, Sony, a large corporation. I had to make cuts. Difficult choices, but I've learned you never cut to the point from where you can never recover. In the context of these decisions about shared pain, I think shared pain is absolutely vital. But what I would do is I would encourage my council to work with our mayor at the regional table to make sure we got access to every possible dollar before we cut anything. As a part of that, I'm supportive of some of the ideas that she said. I don't think I could do anything else. As a council member, I might give up my compensation reimbursement to help add to that as well. We will do whatever it takes. Difficult choices come, but what I would hope that it would be participatory and everybody would be able to participate and we would have the community involved in those conversations.
Thank you very much. That answers all of the questions I've received in the chat thus far. We touched on a lot of really good topics. One we didn't really talk about though is the environment. I love the planet. I want to see people live on it for a long time. So talk a little bit if you have an environmental platform and you know, maybe some more stuff the city of Fremont could do, and of course the stuff that we're already doing that you really support. And Yogi, I will let you go first on this one.
The climate action plan that the city of Fremont submitted was a great plan. More could be done. We're going to be carbon free by 2050. And by 2035, I don't have the number, but I believe that it's an aspirational goal. And what we've shown is that with the increase in population, we're doing that. And I think it's a step in the right direction. The conversion of our electrical vehicles on our city vehicles is all steps in the right direction. My only hope would have been that in this climate action plan, we would have involved more of our youth in our schools. I think the youth care a lot about the climate. And I think that these changes and these aspirational changes are good. The developments that we're having to make sure the developers are coming back, electrifying and decarbonating some of the developments, I think are steps in the right direction. And I believe that it's a conversation that happens because in the end, the savings offset a little bit of the expenses. And I think developers will be glad to do that. I'm very supportive of the climate action plan. I think it's a work in progress. It must always be aspirational. You need to stretch because the future of our environment depends on it. And I think Fremont will become better off because of a robust climate action plan.
Thank you so much. Teresa, go ahead.
Thank you. Climate change presents a threat to the future of our humanity, our community, our future. And we must fight to protect all of the air, the water, the natural resources, and be able to use renewable energy. One of the things that's important is that being at Ohlone College, we made sure that every single building and building code that we met, we exceeded by doing the LEED Platinum certification. And that's something that we're saying that everything is going to be made to the highest environmental conditions and specifications in every single building going forward. And recycling the water, having the thermal energy. I think those are the things that we can make sure that as people build here in Fremont, that we evaluate and see how we can also include environmental specifications in our buildings and our developments that are being built right now. Because you got to have you got to have housing close to the public transportation, which is in a form of reducing the carbon footprint. The other part is still continuing to have innovative technology. We have Tesla right here and working with the solar and working with how we can make sure that all of our processes are being more cleaner, how we dispose of the chemicals, the manufacturing, the hazard, and being accountable for those who try to do environmental dumping that is illegal and trace back. So, and in a nutshell, we all to be good stewards, but we also need to work together to make sure that we have a clean environment from now and in the future.
Thank you so much. So we got a couple more questions, but I'm gonna break this up a little bit because there's one question that the Southern Alameda County Progressive Democrats asked that I loved, and I really want to ask. No politician is perfect. You never find someone you agree with 100% of the time. That tends to be a very sore point in a lot of political discussions that we have currently. So my question is, since we are all not perfect, and you've both been on voting bodies, what is one vote you wish you could go back and change, and why? And I'll give you both 90 seconds for this, and I will let Teresa start.
Okay, say the question one more time.
What is one vote that you could go back and change, and why?
Right now, I cannot think of any vote that I would undo at this point.
Okay, I like it. Killing it, girl. Yogi, go ahead.
You know, as a planning commissioner, I look back at some of these projects and wish there were some improvements. And there are unintended consequences of the planning development process that I think we can improve upon. But I think each one of those projects has created an opportunity from what we've learned. So I would probably come back and say, no, but here's what I would do differently. Now, I would push for infrastructure, because I think in the absence of that, what we've seen is bad faith developments. What I will also do is to see the spirit of the developer. If their negotiations are in good faith, like giving us a school site, which you know you can't build on, that's wrong. I think pushing the envelope on those conversations is what I would hope we would have done differently at that time. And I would probably encourage our planning commissioners to come back and do that as well.
All right, thank you. So now we will go back into our chat questions. Diane Shaw, who is an elected and one of my favorites actually, ever since she told me she rides the bus every week and talks to the drivers and the riders, I was like, what else could you want from somebody that works in transit? Anyways, my shout out to you, Diane. But she says Fremont is working on a parks and recreation plan. What kind of thoughts and input would you have on that? Yogi, I'll let you go first.
You know, this is a good topic. I recently had the chance to participate as an economic development commissioner on the master plan conversation. And the conversation that we had was community input. And I believe there's 4 things we need to address. One, we need to have the neighborhoods have a park that feeds into the regional parks. We need to take our activities to the neighborhood parks to cut down on the mobility. I've also felt that each of the parks must be a storytelling opportunity to tell the story about Fremont. Fremont's transformed from the time when I first come here, but there's such a legacy of history. That interconnectivity is so vitally important. I've also, based upon the feedback I'd gotten from people anticipating that I have to give feedback, was let's make these parks a sense of place where we can have yoga and exercises and some of the other opportunities for our children to play in. And then the last thing was, how do we create an opportunity for us small micro-performing performance centers in these parks to allow neighborhoods to converge? So really taking the parks to our neighborhoods, feeding that into Lake Elizabeth, where primarily most of our big city efforts are happening right now.
Thank you very much. Teresa, go ahead.
Thank you. The parks and recreation is a key part of our family and our community attached for us to be able to enjoy the pleasure of the parks and getting with nature, but also enjoying the facilities. Right now, based on, I'm a mother of 2 athletes. My children played sports in the Fremont schools. And I remember standing in line for, all of us took shifts as parents to be able to stand in line to get into the basketball courts to sign up for the AAU basketball season. And that's very painful. I think that we don't have enough standalone parks and community centers for everyone. We should be able to live in Irvington. We should have enough that we can expand and maybe even open up more of the community center and make it bigger in Irvington, for example, so that we don't have to stand in line for 12 hours to get a slot to have my to have the players be able to play basketball. The other part is that we're not standalone. We're kind of dependent on different parts because each one has a little different theme. Someone has more tennis courts than versus someone else that has more basketball courts. I think if we could find spots that we can have equality of different activities that can be standalone for each community, and that we just go to our local community by walking, riding our bicycle. That's the part that I'm looking for to help increase and utilize the resources in our community. Right now, it's a little bit tight, and we're working our best to work with everyone, with the schools, you know, but right now we can't do any of that with the COVID-19, but we need to know how to use that.
All right.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay, let me, there was another one. So this is a great topic. Tesla, they have some issues. Seems like quite a bit. The general question was, what is your opinion on Tesla? Teresa, you can go first.
Well, it's mixed. I'll be quite frank. You got on one side the only manufacturer of, you know, the unique cars that they make, the hybrid, energy efficient. You know, that's great. That drives the economy and uniqueness of their market niche. On the other side, you know, you read in the paper that they got tons of problems with, how can I say, tons of problems with the COVID-19 that spread so quickly. And you know, that's something that becomes a safety issue in the workplace. Then you're going to bring it home to your families, and it spreads throughout the community that way. So there is some concern about that. I think there's got to be a balance, you know, and in terms of, and I work for Western Digital. We have a you know, work playbook just like everybody else, but things are going to happen. There's 6 different strands of COVID-19. So right now with Tesla, you know, there's up and down. We're experiencing a mixed reaction here, and we're going to have to manage that, you know, and in some cases we don't want to shut down that we don't have any jobs. You know, I know a lot of the workers work outside of Fremont, but there's some that do locally. We just got to be able to manage that and manage the situation so the workers are safe, they can produce output without getting other people sick. I think that's the key part, and managing that part. The second part is making sure that they sustain and they stay in Fremont as part of our economy.
90 seconds. All right. Yogi, go ahead.
I think Tesla was a great tenant when they first came here. And I think they're doing remarkable work in the electrification and the decarbonization that we have to have. It's the hedge against the future. So I applaud the work they're doing. I just think Elon Musk has a very different attitude about how he can change the world and change the narrative. I fundamentally believe that the balance between safety and reopening has to happen. He just bullied his way in. And no matter how hard we tried as the mayor and the council to come back and give him the hope that we're willing to work with him, just to be a little patient. If he had shown that patience resolve, we could have done this safely. The word is still unclear on did the reopening create an unsafe condition or not. I don't know the answer. But I would say to any CEO of a company, understand the limitations of what we have. Our first and foremost obligation is to protect the safety of our residents and those that work in our communities. I just wish Elon Musk would be a little bit more humbler and wouldn't manage by tweets. It seems that putting pressure in a situation where we're already dealing with so much difficulty, I think is where my issue is, but I cannot undermine the Tesla success. Are we going to ever lose him? I don't know. Is he going to use it as leverage against us? I'm sure he will. I just wish he would change. I wish my president would change at times, but we have to deal with what we have.
Thank you very much. Yes, Elon Musk is a fun one, always good topic. Okay, so another question here. Vanessa, real quick though, before we get to this, I did have a quick question for both of you, and that is, it's a yes or no. Do you support Tesla employees unionizing under UAW, United Auto Workers?
I think employees should be able to unionize if they want to.
Okay, Teresa?
Of course, they should be able to unionize.
And for the record, for anyone who's unsure, NUMMI, which was the predecessor of Tesla, was unionized, and actually the unionized auto workers in the Midwest that work for the American car manufacturers actually are paid on average $8 more an hour than Tesla workers. Just a little FYI in an article I read. So the labor union busting from Elon, just another thing he gave us, right? So Vanessa would like to know, would you support a moratorium on market rate housing? And if not, would you advocate for allotting a certain percentage of units of affordable housing? And also, have you taken or will you take the no cop money pledge? And I'd just like to clarify in her question a little bit, because I live inside of her mind regularly. Allotting affordable housing means the housing is built, not that the in lieu fees are paid. Sometimes people get confused. Yogi, wait, yes, Yogi, I will let you answer first on that. Go ahead.
Right. The moratorium on the $1 million homes is a question of market, right? So there's a market and people buy it. And most of the times what I've seen is that when a developer comes for the general plan amendment, they're coming for higher density and they're trying to build some of these homes because they want to be within the attendance areas that they want to be in. I don't know if there's a way to say no to a developer today by the fact that they have to build versus the in lieu development impact fee. I'm reading up on this because honestly, it's one of the issues that I've been always concerned with, and I'm trying to figure out what's the logical way to do this. I think you can push on the affordable units, but I'm not sure you can simply come back and say you can't build. Now, one of the conversations that I think is absolutely important is to have this conversation with cities and schools. SB 50 restricts what you could do as a council, but schools, by way of allocating an attendance area, potentially could. And if the attendance area is not what it is, I can tell you that's the fastest way to get the price of these homes to drop. So I really don't have the answer, Vanessa, but it's a good question. I think it's a question that's been asked since times immemorial. But I can look into this a little bit more, Vanessa, and I can get back to you.
Thank you so much, Yogi. Teresa, go ahead.
Thank you very much for asking that question, Vanessa. Ohlone College, as a trustee, we did have the opportunity to look at proposals from developments, and we were able to have set aside in the development package a certain number of apartments that were below the market rate. It was a certain percentage. And as you go lower, you know, that takes down on how much that would be the money that would be used to offset when we had budget shortfalls at Ohlone College. So I have seen it and it can be done. Unfortunately, our project did not move forward, but it's just the experience of going through that type of exercise that you can work something out to that point. As far as so that's part of addressing the affordable housing. As far as the no cop pledge, so far to date, I have not received any cop money. So I can't say that for, you know, going forward, but at this point, I haven't been approached or anything, so.
Right. Kelsey, I didn't get a chance to respond to that portion of the question, so when I get a chance,
I will give you 10 seconds.
I have not been approached by them either yet.
Okay.
And I haven't received any funding from them.
Okay, but as far as signing a pledge that you would not accept their money, both of you are yes, no, unsure?
I'm unsure right now.
Okay.
Are they going to even spend any money in this race, in this cycle?
Are they going to spend any money at all? They're not everyone's favorites right now.
In this cycle, I don't know, but my answer is the same as Teresa.
Okay, so both of you are unsure. Wonderful. Now, to talk a little bit about the luxury housing, market rate housing question, one thing I'm not sure we discuss a lot, and sometimes I get ideas in my head that people end up telling me are unrealistic, so feel free to do that. I feel like the cities don't work hard enough on public-private partnerships with developers, because we do have affordable housing money. They've been paying us in lieu fees for years. I mean, I've been involved since 2016, and I've seen a ton of developers get a bunch of in lieu fees. What are your ideas about working with developers to use that money to get those units into their developments? Teresa, I will let you go first.
Okay. I'm going to say right now, as a disclosure, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning on the housing legislation that has just changed recently. But my thoughts are this. I've worked with contracts and worked with different types of development projects on behalf of the corporations. And I believe that you could still have units dedicated in writing and be able to negotiate that with the city, so that you will make sure that you do have some sort of public housing or some sort of monies that can be allocated for those type of projects. What I don't know is what the legislation that has changed that part. And so that's where I'm hesitant to say too much more past that, because of some of the rule changes that just happened recently regarding that. But I do believe and would hope to push for something to that effect, and also to see how we can help improve the quality of life for people that are living here in this district.
Thank you so much. Yogi, you can go ahead.
Right, I think we have to look at the context of development on community college land versus city and the planning and the land use decisions that you can do. I think there's a different world out there from that reality. In regards to the conversation, I think that it's a conversation that this climate will require us to have. And I think developers are going to be building, and I'm not sure anybody's going to be building during this COVID timeframe, but when the conversation does happen, I think the will and the resolve to ask for more affordability, whether it's a combination of our funding coming in from the county or from the state. And really what's going to end up happening is, just like the state is mandating numbers of housing around transit-oriented districts, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that help, where the state's going to mandate to the developers what they need to do in order to get the density that is needed in order for them to make the land acquisition costs around the BART station or any of the other areas. It's a work in progress. I'm fiercely independent when it comes to these kind of things, and I think that we need to push the envelope, but we have to get it done. Vanessa's point is so valid. The moratorium may be a way to do it, but building the right type of affordable housing. And Kelsey, that's why I talk about the affordability by design and pushing that creativity, using the public-private partnerships to make that reality happen.
Thank you so much. We did get another question in the chat from Maria. Love you, Maria. And she wants to know a little bit more about funding for the homeless who have mental health issues. And I think probably in general, knowing Maria, any types of, mental health services that we can improve upon and provide. Teresa, I will let you go first on this question.
Well, I know that based on the Fremont budget, there was a set aside of certain money for our family resource services. And it's not clear right now, because I'm still evaluating that aspect, if it's also relating to allowing it to be used for mental health services. But what I will say is that we got to find different avenues or partnerships with either the drug companies, the manufacturers of those, and do a public-private partnership to be able to establish some sort of funding or help for the people that need that for the mental illness, because they can't help themselves. And we need to be able to step up and be the voice to help them in ways that can help the city and help us and identify really some new streams of funding to help us during this COVID-19 time and going forward and beyond that. So it's going to take a lot of public and private partnerships to make that work. I just cannot answer definitely if that's part of that budget, because it's not made clear right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yogi, go ahead. Yogi?
Yep.
For all the years that I've lived in Fremont, I've had the distinct pleasure of having heard Susan Chenfill, who's the head of our Human Services, come and present before the Planning Commission and prior to the City Council meetings to come and give us some regular updates. And our singular appeal used to be that we need to address the question of mental health early on in the situations for at least the context of homelessness. Because once you don't address that question early, then what happens is unchecked and unassisted, they become a part of this vicious system of homelessness from where it becomes difficult to get out of. So the early investments are so vitally important, and I think that the city needs to absolutely come back and address that. Even on the context of homelessness and how our police departments continue to deal with some of these issues, you find that a lot of these homelessness police calls are mental illness issues that they sometimes have to get involved in. So the program that the city of Fremont has done where you have mental health workers that are embedded with the police department to deal with some of these things are steps in the right direction. I believe more of this needs to happen. We need to seek dollars from the county. We need to seek dollars from the federal government. And when you do this, not only are you dealing with the issue of mental health, you're also dealing with the question of homelessness, and then this very notion of an equal and just society for all.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say, to your point, Yogi, at the 4th of July parade last year, pre-COVID, I actually was on the Fremont trolley with the mental health social worker that goes out with the police to deal with a lot of these issues. And we had a wonderful chat. And she was very, very amazing and told me a lot of good things about the program that Fremont is doing. And I think that as fun progressives, we should probably write a letter or take a stand that we would like to see the city of Fremont send more of those people out, because the impression I got from the worker herself is that she feels like she makes a very, very big difference on site when in those situations, and especially knowing, having to know the city services available to someone and the programs, whether it's county or city offered to put people into to help them get back in reality or whatever you want to call it. So just a little personal touch from me, because our conversation left a big impact on me, and I was very proud to be a Fremontier in that moment.
I remember that.
Yes. Raj, let me know. Her name's Juliet and Phipps, and she got 45 people housed and off the streets. I think that's what we're all in politics for, because we want to see those people in good situations and housed and getting the services they need. I would so much rather my money go to that than the police. I'll just pretend that's where my tax money goes. Okay, are there any last questions? Luckily, it is only 5 minutes and we can get a couple more fun ones in there if anyone has anything. Otherwise, you guys are gonna make me pull into my grab bag. Could be fun. I do have, Alex has one question. I love that. Alex, I'm gonna ask my last question and then I'm asking what you just said in the chat. So our 2 last questions, but my first one is actually about the improvements being done to Fremont for bike lanes. For some reason, some people are very against the bike lanes. So I just like to hear a little bit about your ideas on bicycle and pedestrian transit in Fremont, what we're doing right, what we could do better. And Yogi, I will let you answer this question first.
I've heard a lot of things about people just complaining about the bike paths, but I think it's the future. The last mile that has to be conquered, we cannot do it without a safe bike plan for ourselves. And in COVID, I'm just looking at people driving and biking all around. It's probably going to become the norm. I think we need to do more of it. I think we need to do a better job of educating our community about it. I think a lot of times our community doesn't understand what we do, but when you can openly tell them what we're trying to accomplish, they say, I get it. Now I understand what you're doing. So the short of the answer is, if I'm not mistaken, and Vinny and Roger are here, but I think we've gotten recognition for our efforts for our bike paths. It's spoken to at the League of Cities, and I know the mayor was talking about how she gets rave reviews about this from everybody else. It's the future. It's a part of our mobility. It's a part of our last mile that we need to conquer. When we have the work job rebalance, it's going to be a critical component of that. It's going to be a part of our infrastructure dialogue. I think we need to continue it, and we need to do it wherever possible. Right now, we just do it on our main arteries. I think we need to do this all across. I think we need to do more of this in Irvington as well.
Thank you so much. Teresa, you can go ahead.
Yes, I agree. Bike lanes are very important for our quality of life here in Fremont. A lot of us now are working from home. We need some form of exercise to keep ourselves well and health wise, but also it's purely for our families to be able to use the bike lane safely, as we do not have to drive everywhere in our car. That's the whole purpose of having the bike lane. I read some reports that there tended to be a little bit higher traffic accidents because of the bike lanes, but I think a lot of it too is there's a lot of training going around the bike lanes to get adjusted to the new zoning and the clearances that we are not used to. And some of that is I call it an operator error, and in some of those cases that would cut the corners too short. But I do believe that the bike lanes is a very positive as part of the mobility plan. Yes, we did receive the city award for it, the zero tolerance, all these different things that help us, zero vision, to help in terms of making sure that it's safe for everyone. And this is another alternative of how we're going to get around to do our daily living, and that we should be allowed to have bike lanes to improve upon that area for everyone. It's really equal justice for everyone.
Thank you so much. So before I get to your closing statements, I'm going to ask Alex's question, which I think is a really, really good one. I should probably close all of them like this. So to both of you, what is one thing you admire about the other candidate? And Teresa, I will let you go first.
I admire about Yogi that I've gotten a chance to know his family, his wife, Monica, his son, his daughter, as well as his mom, God bless her soul, as well as his dad. And I remember first time when I ran for Ohlone College, his dad even had endorsed me when I was first running for Ohlone trustee. So those are one of the things that I have very fond memories of Yogi and his family.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you for sharing. Yogi, go ahead.
My respect for Teresa is mutual. Her story of raising her two children, her son and my son, they spent quite a bit of time during some of the Festival of Globe events. I still remember that. Teresa, your resilience of being the first student graduate from nuclear engineering program is a testament to the work that you've done. I think you've done a lot of good work in the face of all odds. I commend you for that. I think you've done a great job in Ohlone College. I think the voters will now have a conversation to decide between a big field, and I wish you the very best in this election, Teresa.
You too, Yogi.
I love happy questions. So to finish out the meeting, you both get a 2-minute closing.
And I love candidates with mutual respect. I just want to say that.
Mutual toleration is very necessary in politics. I learned that in 7 classes over 3 or 4 semesters of political science majoring now, and every single one, whether it's foreign policy or political parties and campaigning, mutual toleration is a very important aspect of politics. I'm working on it myself. More of a burn it down to the ground type, but we're all here to learn. So to complete the meeting for the night, everyone gets a 2-minute closing. Since Teresa got to open, I will let Yogi give his closing first. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you for this dialogue. It's been really a pleasure to being able to share with you a little bit of my conversation pieces on a number of issues. The hard part about all of these forums is it's difficult to talk amongst policy discussions and substantive conversations. So hopefully we'll have the chance to do that sometime in the future as well. But with my closing, I've been thinking a lot about the state of politics in our country. and Fremont and how we got to where we are. I think a lot of it is because we've stopped talking to each other and we've stopped trusting one another. Without that trust and belief that our neighbors are looking out for us as much as we are looking out for them, we can never change our city for the better. I still believe that hope and people-centered decision-making really has the potential to transform our communities. I'm running as a father, a parent, a son, and just somebody in this community. And I've loved this community dearly. When I came here 36 years ago, I'd never left this. And I've lived in the district for about 15 years now. And in this, I've made this realization that Fremont is a great place for families. This is what I hear from a lot of people, but they're just frustrated with some of the directions that the city may have taken. And I really want to come back and make sure that how do we keep the city the same way it was when I moved here, and the city that my children love to call as their home. As a commissioner and a small business owner, I know firsthand the value of small businesses of all types can bring to build a sense of community that can help shape the lives that we live. And as a longtime Fremont resident, I believe there's a place for everyone in Fremont to pursue our dreams, to build our businesses, to live, work, and play. There are days when I question my identity. And there's been a question of transformation, and COVID has really helped me reflect, how can I make that difference? I believe progressive values are mainstream values. On council, I'll fight for many of these values. If you believe that we can champion housing affordability and infrastructure development in the same breath, if you believe that we can modernize our aging shopping centers and support small businesses and create this job and work rebalance and take care of our families, not only during COVID, but post-COVID as well, to address the vulnerabilities that we face and to face solutions for safer communities. And if you believe that ending homelessness is possible in Fremont, I'd be honored to receive your vote. Please visit my website, www.yogiforfremont.com. In the next 2 to 3 days, we're going to have policy positions in detail. Please call me, and I'll be honored to get your support.
And I will be honored to give everybody Yogi's personal phone number. So
Please.
Teresa, go ahead. You have, honestly, you can just close it out, sis. I promised you all kinds of extra time, so do your thing.
Okay. As a second generation of Californians, 12 years serving as Ohlone College, my family has always been part of the struggle. From fighting for equal justice as my mother was a union leader to fight for their wages and quality of life. And my great-grandmother fought in the women's suffrage movement that's been noted in some of the history books. I come from a legacy of women fighting for the causes because it is one that we connect. We build the community together. And part of it is that your endorsement today will help me to continue to fight for the social and equal justices in our community, the equality, the affirmative action, the affordability of housing, but also that Fremont has never had an Afro-American ever serve in city council. And it's so important that I have worked as a community builder and as a community leader to bring everybody together. I have the endorsements from a diverse group of people. It is an honor to receive endorsements from the Alameda County Building and Construction Trades Council, the IBEW Local 595, Northern California Carpenters Regional Council, Sheet Metal United, the Sheet Metal Workers, United Faculty of Ohlone, just to name a few organizations. I have the endorsement of Assemblymember Kansan Chugh, Fremont Vice Mayor Jenny Cason, Newark Mayor Al Nagy, along with multiple other mayors around the Bay Area. It's important because we got to work together. What happens at Fremont, it goes down the street to Hayward. I have Sarah Lehman's endorsement as well. It's important that as we work, things happen to our community that we've got to regionalize, statewide, national-wise. We've got to work together. As a trustee, I'm very privileged to have my fellow trustees' endorsements, Chair Rich Waters, Vivian Larson, Tawny Warren, student trustees, Kevin Black and Luke Zacchaeus. I'm also proud of the community leaders that stand up with me. the LGBT, Tiffany Woods, Northern California, Democratic Party Caucus. I have the Alameda Board of Supervisors, to name a few, Nate Miley, Keith Parsons. I also have the community leaders from the Filipino, the Indo-Americans, Latinx, Afghanistan, Black, Iranian, and including a mixture of others that represent all different types of communities up and down the state of California, and working with everyone at a national level. Again, it's time for a change. To vote for me means we are accepting and moving forward with a new change to keep Fremont. I have the experience and the know-how to get things done. I look forward to working with everyone in our community, because it is our community, a community united together in a world of cultures that we live, work, and play here in Fremont. I ask for your endorsement and your support. Please visit my website at www.teresacox, and I spell it without an H, TERESA.org. Thank you so much. Thank you for having this forum tonight. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Teresa and Yogi. We have appreciated having you so much. We really look forward to seeing what happens in this race. We know you guys are in a big race. We wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you for speaking with us tonight. Our endorsement meeting will take place in August. We'll be talking to a lot of candidates in August. And also, please send in your dues if you have not already. We do have a PayPal set up that you can pay your dues through. It's in every single newsletter you've gotten for several weeks now. So pay your dues if you haven't. I will be putting together another candidates forum for August, and then we will do our endorsements. Then I'm going to do it through SurveyMonkey again, like I did last March, whenever we did that. So please make sure you pay your dues. And then additionally in September is when we go through all of the propositions. So please make sure that I will be sending out links for that as the September meeting gets closer. But we do endorse the propositions on our September meeting. We normally have some very, very lively conversation. I don't think I'll ever forget the condoms conversation. I think it was Prop 61 or 62 back a few years ago. One of my favorite meetings ever. So we are really excited to be here for 4 years now. We're really excited that we have continued to gain some standing within the public. I feel like this is our moment and this is our movement, and I thank all of you for joining me. One last note, if the candidates would like this video for their campaign purposes, please feel free to reach out to me, funprogressives@gmail.com, and I will send you a link. That's not an issue whatsoever. And with that being said, good night, everybody. And I hope that you have a beautiful August. I will see all of you next month, probably still on Zoom because California does not wear masks. And good night. Au revoir.